Hi, my dear students. Today we will learn about extremely short-lived particles or resonant particle. Now, these are also called meson resonances. We already learned about mesons in the classification of particles. There we see that the lightest member of this group is pions. Other mesons are produced in the nucleon-pion interaction or nucleon-nucleon interaction with large incident energy. Okay, so these mesons, the lightest one is pions, the other mesons possess greater mass such that it is always greater than the twice the mass of the pions. Okay, the other thing is that we already learned about mesons, and there we see that these are bosons, so their total number is not conserved. So how many, there is no restriction for the production or decay of number of mesons. You have to remember all these things at first. Then the other thing is that usually these mesons decay through strong interaction to lightest pions. Heavy, massive mesons decays to lightest mesons through strong interaction. That is, their lifetime is around 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. This time of the corresponds to the range of strong interaction. So we can conclude that these particles decays through strong interaction. Okay. Then from this itself you can see that they exist only for a very small time, 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. So how can we detect their presence? That is the question. Okay, so these are called short-lived resonances because their presence appears as resonances in the scattering experiment. Okay, so there is no way to directly observe these particles, but there are indirect methods to find out their existence. Now, there are two detecting methods. One is pion-nucleon scattering experiments. Nucleon-nucleon or pion-nucleon scattering experiments. In this case, the width of the resonance is obtained from the scattering graph. Then we can find out the lifetime of the particle which can be formed at the resonance. Okay. The second method is by sending a beam of pions into a cloud chamber and observing its deflection by a magnetic field. Then from that we can reduce the energy and momentum of the reaction products and all other things. These are the two indirect methods usually used to detect this type of resonant particles. Now we can move on to different examples. The first one is rho meson. Okay, so here rho plus is a member of a triplet, rho plus, rho minus, and rho zero. Okay, here we first discuss the formation of rho plus meson. Now there are pi plus and proton interaction, positive pion and proton interaction. This interaction leads to the formation of a rho plus meson plus proton. Within 10 raised to minus 23 seconds, this rho plus meson decays to pi plus plus neutral pion. Okay, positive pion plus neutral pion. You can see that in all these interactions, all the conservation laws are held. Here you can see that the total charge is conserved all in these interactions. Okay. Similarly, all other conservation laws are obeyed in these interactions. Now, but we already discussed that this rho plus meson has a short lifetime of the order of 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. So we can't observe its presence directly. So the reaction appears just like this positive pion and proton interacts each other and forms two pions and a proton, pi plus and neutral pion plus a proton. Okay. Now, there is a chance such that this there may be the reaction happens like this this positive pion plus proton directly produce positive pion, neutral pion and proton. In this context, there is no rho plus formation, right? So this is the problem. How can we distinguish that whether this particle is formed or not? Once this interaction happens, positive pion and proton interacts each other, there are two chances. Either this happens through these ways, in that case there is formation of rho plus, or it happens like this, then there is no rho plus meson formed. Okay, then how can we find out distinguish these two processes? Okay? By analyzing the energies of the decay products or emitted pions, we can find out which type of decay mode happens there. Okay. For that, you just remember the relativistic energy equation. Okay. Suppose the energy and momentum of the rho plus meson is measured directly using some instrument. It is just an imaginary situation. You know that within 10 raised to minus 23 seconds is not possible. But suppose somehow we measure the energy and momentum of the rho plus meson. Now, by the mass energy relationship, you can write this like this: E square minus E rho square minus C square P rho square equal to this square root of E rho square minus C square P rho square equal to M rho C square. Here this M rho represents the rest mass of this rho meson. Okay, this is the familiar mass energy relationship in relativistic relativity, right? Now, we already realized that once this interaction happens, this rho meson decays to pions. Okay, so now we can apply this here. That means if this rho plus meson decays to pi plus and neutral pion, the energy of this rho meson should be distributed among this pi plus and neutral pion, right? Similarly, the momentum of the rho meson is also distributed among these pi plus and neutral pi. Okay, that means you can replace E rho with this one and P rho with this one. Okay, because rho plus decays to pi plus pi 0. So their energy and momentum distributed between this pi plus and pi 0. Now your relativistic equation looks like this. Okay. Now what happens? From this equation itself, you can see that now there is no energy of rho meson or no momentum of rho meson, only pi mesons. We can measure these energies and momentum. Okay, in real experiment laboratory, you can measure the energy and momentum of these pions. So from this information, the energy and momentum of pions, the decay products, we can find out the rest energy of the rho meson. If a rho meson is formed there, there should be corresponding rest mass energy. Okay. So the rest mass of the particle is a constant. So you know that once this happens, this interaction happens, the energy distributed between the pions. There can be infinite ways of distributing energy between these two particles. Whatever distribution happens, if the rest energy is corresponds to the rest energy of rho plus meson, you can assume that in that reaction there is formation of rho plus meson. Now we can check it with a scattering graph. The scattering graph of this experiment shows resonance. The graph is plotted such that the probability of interaction versus the center of mass energy. What is the center of mass energy? It is defined as the sum of rest masses of the decay products plus the kinetic energy possessed by them. Okay, mass energy relationship. It is called the center of mass energy, and the scattering graph is plotted between this probability of interaction and the center of mass energy. So this is the plot which I have taken from the book Particle Hunters, your prescribed textbook. You can see this plot like this. Here, this peak, this plot, the scattering graph shows you a peak at a particular energy range. Okay, and between this 1.2 and 1.3, there is a peak resonance. This is called resonance because for a particular energy, the probability of interaction is very high. Okay, this is called resonance. Now, the nucleon, the pi plus and p proton interaction graph shows a greater probability of interaction within the energy range 1.2 and 1.3. Okay, that is the interaction probability is high around 1230 MeV or 1.23 MeV. Sorry, 1.23 giga electron volt. Okay. Later, the studies showed that this pi plus and pi minus can form with proton a stable system with 1232 MeV. So if this pi plus forms a stable system with the proton, you get a stable particle with 1232 MeV. Similarly, if this pi minus meson form a stable system with proton, you have another particle, right? So the stable system possess definite spins, isospins, and other quantum numbers. So what happens? This stable system has definite mass, definite spin, isospin, and other quantum numbers. So this stable state can be treated as a particle. Okay, so if a pi plus and p, that means positive pion and proton, form a stable state, it leads to the formation of a charged particle. Let it be rho plus. Okay. Similarly, if this pi minus and proton form a stable state, it forms a neutral particle. That is, let it be rho zero. Okay. Their mass lying around 1232 MeV. Okay. Now, in order to consider this peaks, this resonance as a particle, it must have definite quantum numbers, spins, isospins, and other quantum numbers. In this experiment, this positive pion proton interaction, we get this type of a stable state. The stable state has definite mass, definite spin, isospin, definite charge, and all other quantum numbers. So we can treat this resonance as a particle. Okay. Now, the lifetime of the particle can be deduced from the scattering graph. Okay. The uncertainty principle demands that this thing, the delta T of the order of H crossed by delta E. Okay, this is the energy time uncertainty principle. Here, delta E is the uncertainty of mass of the particle, because you know that in particle physics, energy mass conservation law is used. Energy can be written in the form of mass and vice versa. Okay, so here the uncertainty in energy means its uncertainty in the mass of the mass of the particle. Similarly, delta T represents average lifetime. Okay, so what happens now? You think about a particle whose lifetime is 10 raised to minus 10 seconds. Then what happens? Corresponding to with respect to this equation, if its lifetime is 10 raised to minus 10 seconds, its delta E is very small. Okay, so for smaller delta T, delta E is greater. We already find out that the average lifetime of heavy mesons are of the order of 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. So their lifetime is small. So corresponding to this, the uncertainty in of the mass of the particle is always greater. That means the heavier they are heavier. The other mesons except the pions are heavier mesons because of their shortest lifetime. Okay. Now, how can we get this delta E? Actually, delta E is called the resonance width. This is the resonance curve. Okay, this is the resonance curve. Here, here we plot the center of mass energy and probability of interaction. In this is called the width of the resonance. Okay. Now, for the maximum value of this interaction lies at this. Okay. So we have to take half maximum. Half maximum means this is the maximum value. It's half. It half lies here. Okay. So in this half value, you have a width in this peak. This is the width. This is called uncertainty of mass of the particle, delta E. It is defined as width at half maximum. Okay. Now this delta is defined as width at half maximum. Width at half maximum means this is the maximum value, this is the half value. Corresponding to this half, there is a width. Okay, this is called the uncertainty of mass of the particle. Okay, delta E. Okay. Now, in the case of pion proton interaction, this delta is around 100 MeV. Okay, around 100 MeV. So you can find out the lifetime delta T such that substituting here for corresponding values, you can see that it's of the order of 0.6 into 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. The order of 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. Now, what we get? This range, 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. Within this time, the particle decays. This range corresponds to strong interaction. So we can conclude that the particle decays through strong interaction. Okay. Similarly, another situation is in the rho zero neutral rho meson. This can be produced from positron electron annihilation. Okay, we know only the positron annihilation as pair production, but here the positron electron annihilation leads to the formation of two pions such that pi plus and pi minus. Here you can see that the lepton number is conserved, which makes here 0. So the decay products are not leptons, they are mesons. Okay, and the mesons are pi plus and pi minus mesons. In this interaction, there is in between the formation of neutral rho meson. Okay. Now, another example is the proton-antiproton interaction. P represent proton and P bar antiproton. Okay, in this case, this proton-antiproton interaction leads to the formation of two positive pions and two negative pions and a neutral pion. This is the reaction. And in this case, there are 5 particles produced. This is actually annihilation process because antiparticle annihilation. Okay, proton and its antiparticle. Now there are 5 decay products. 2 pions, 2 positive pions, 2 negative pions and a neutral pion. Okay. And here the scattering graph of this reaction exhibits formation of a state pi plus pi minus pi 0. This pi plus pi minus pi 0 these three particles form a new neutral stable state. Okay, this is called omega meson. This one has rust mass 782 MeV and its lifetime of the order of 7 into 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. Okay, in this case, the charged final state, such as you can see that there are five decay products, five pions. There is possibility of creation of pi plus, pi minus, pi plus, but by experimental observation, we can see that that means in the case of scattering a graph, there is no resonant peaks at for these energies. That means there is no charged particles in this interaction. So we can conclude that this omega meson is a singlet state. Okay, this particle is called omega particle. So proton antiproton annihilation leads to the formation of omega meson plus pi plus and pi minus. This omega meson decays to pi plus, pi minus and neutral pion. Okay, this is the interaction. So in between this interaction, there is the formation of resonant particle omega meson. But this omega meson is a singlet state. There is no charged version of this particle. It is neutral. Okay. Another example, the third example, you can consider the interaction positive pion plus proton like this. Okay. In this case also you can see that there are four pions and one proton as the decay products. Here the pi plus, pi minus and neutral pion. This neutral combination has two resonant peaks in the scattering graph, one at 549 MeV and the another one at 783 MeV. 783 MeV is familiar to us. We already learned about it. It is omega meson. But in the 549 MeV, there is a new stable state which has definite mass, spin, isospin, etc. And this particle is called eta meson. Here also we can see that there is no resonant peaks for charged combinations like this, and so this eta particle is also a singlet state. Okay, so both this eta and omega are singlets and they have neutral particles also. Okay, now the decay of this omega meson, there are multiple possibility for decay of this heavier mesons. For example, in the case of omega meson, it can decay to three pions like this: positive pion, neutral pion, and positive pion, negative pion, and a neutral pion. This happens at 90% probability. That means majority of decay of omega mesons happens like this. Another possibility is with a photon and a neutral pion. This happens around 9% probability. And another one is positive pion and negative pion. This decay happens with 1% probability. And there is a chance to decay through uh, pair, pair production, just like E plus, positron and electron. Okay, this has probability very small probability, 0.0067%. Anyway, there are multiple decay modes for these resonant particles. Okay, now I think I can wind up the session now. This is a very short lecture. It deals with the resonant particles or the extremely short-lived mesons. Here we see that these have decay through strong interactions and lifetime only of the order of 10 raised to minus 23 seconds. These are heavier mesons because their lifetime is very small, so their mass is very high. Thank you.